That sounds fantastic. Well, good morning everybody and welcome to the Old Classic Car channel. Today is Saturday and tomorrow it is one of the regular Crewe Heritage Centre classic car meets. Obviously it's still a bit of a chilly time of the year, so I'm not expecting a huge turnout, but we usually get a few interesting cars turn up. If you watched one of Harley's recent videos, you'll know we did plan to take this to a recent meeting over in Crewe, but it failed to proceed. Well, rather, it failed to start at all, thanks to a slightly flat battery. The Renault is tucked away for the winter. I don't think that'll be going anywhere other than up and down the drive, just to keep everything working. The A40, I've got a cover on that because there are a couple of drips, especially the condensation this time of year drips onto it, so I don't really want it getting damp while it's sat in the garage. Same goes for everything else really. And the little standard, well, we need to give that a bit of a clean because it always gets a little bit dusty when it's outside here for any length of time. So I think the first thing we'll do is we'll go and find a drop of petrol to chuck a drop of fuel into the carburettor, check the battery and see if we can wake up the mighty 803cc engine under that dinky little bonnet. Well, there we go. I never doubted it for a minute. It probably hadn't started for, I don't know, certainly hasn't run this year, so that's not bad going. Like I say, you just sometimes put a drop of fuel straight into the carburettor. I think there must be a slight blockage somewhere on the choke side of things, somewhere within the carburettor itself, so maybe one day we'll take that off and just give it a bit of a clean out inside, check the jets and so on. But anyway, she's up and running now, and that's the main thing, so we'll let it warm up a little bit and then I think we will spruce it up, go and get a sponge and a bucket of water and just give it a bit of a clean up. Whether we take the MX5 tomorrow or not as well, I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure what Mrs OCC's plans are for tomorrow, but I think Harley and I will take this one and we'll just go and see what other old cars turn up this particular time over in Crewe. I know Dad's planning on taking his MGB over. I spoke to him yesterday, so all being well he'll be there in his Harvest Gold MGB GT from the early 1970s. We'll be here in the Standard, and what else will turn up, well, who knows. But as the weather for the time of year is not too bad at all, I think there's a good chance we will get several cars turning up, maybe some of the regulars. And I know last time, if you watched Harley's video, a gent turned up. He came all the way up from Stratford-upon-Avon in his rare Renault 5 Gordini, which was incredible, and he just popped up just to I think he just fancied going somewhere else different for a Sunday morning drive out. But yeah, it's quite a trek from Stratford-upon-Avon up to Crewe in Cheshire, so yeah, hats off to him. A very distinctive little burble. I think we can probably push the choke in just a little bit. Yeah. Right, so the ignition light's on, because the dynamo on a car like this for charging the battery only tends to work when you've got a few, there we go, when there's a few revs. So we can pop the choke in. It should just smooth the idle out a little bit. There we go. Because there's no temperature gauge on the car this basic. This was a very basic car for its time. It's not quite as basic as the very first Standard 8s, which didn't even have wind-up windows. I mean, this one hasn't got the opening boot lid. You have to go in, you have to tilt the seats forward like this to get into the boot space through there. So that's quite a fun little feature of this car. Some other cars that were like this, I'm trying to think, there's the Austin Sprite Mk1, you couldn't get, there was no opening boot lid on that, so you had to go in behind the seats. And the early Austin Metropolitans were also the same. Later ones did have an opening boot lid. Same with the very late Standard 8s, they also had the opening boot lid, which was a feature from the beginning of the Standard 10, which was a slightly larger engine version of this particular car. If you've got a if you've converted to an alternator, like later cars have fitted, then there's no issue. It'll still be charging even when the engine is just idling. But if you've got a dynamo, the original dynamo and regulator setup like this car's got, you don't want the battery to run too low, and that's what will happen if you leave it idling for too long. See, the light's out altogether now, so that's okay. But if the idle slows down a little bit, then the lights will probably come on again, so we don't really want that. And I've got my trusty bottle of go-go juice just in case we need to prime the carburettor again when we come to leave Crewe tomorrow, all being well. So we might as well have that with us. It's a bit of a faff, but it's not the end of the world, and it's just one of those things that you have when you're running an old car. This is what it was like running an old car back in the 1950s and the 1960s. You had to work around their character and their failings, and yeah, people were a lot more hands-on back in those days. So anyway, we'll just let it warm up a little bit. Still must sort out these door trims sometime as well, but I'm not too fussed about fripperies like that. At least it means I can keep an eye on the inside of the doors and maybe spread a bit of oil around in there. Although the doors do need a little bit of work at some point on the lower edges, so maybe we'll have a look at that one day. But anyway, let's just let it warm up a bit. One of the jobs I want to do before too long is probably give this one a service. Obviously we did it when I first put it back on the road, did a bit of recommissioning work on it, whenever it was, a year or two ago. We did all the brakes, engine, we did the charging, replaced the dynamo and also the voltage regulator. So it's had a fair bit of work done to it, and it was all greased up back then. We changed the tyres and did a few other jobs as well, but it's probably due a service now. So I think I'll go and dig out the old lubrication charts if I can find that, and just remind myself exactly what needs greasing and so on the Standard 8 of 1956. I'm sure quite a few of you watching this video remembers, or perhaps even owns, one of these for their own car, or maybe had one back in the day. This is the Standard 8 and 10 and Pennant lubrication chart, and this tells you everything that you need to do to keep your vehicle in fine condition. Steering tie rods, shackle pins, suspension swivels, Castrolese LM grease, wheel hubs, etc, etc. The steering gearbox, i.e. the steering box, which is down there. Everything you could ever need. The engine, of course, prop shaft UJs, you need to grease those. Rear wheel hubs, the back axle, of course, rear axle, Hypoid gear oil in this case. And if you wonder why there are so many mentions of Castrol products on here, it's because this was actually printed by CC Wakefield and Co Limited, Grosvenor Street in London. CC Wakefield, of course, the company behind Castrol. So there are many references to Castrol products. Castrol High Press Gear Oil, for example, Castrolite, Castrolese LM grease. So yeah, these are really handy, these charts. It's well worth having one of these for any old car that you happen to own. I mean, the handbook is pretty handy as well, but these look quite nice, framed up, put on the wall of the garage, which is probably something I should do with this one, although it is a little bit creased. So if I was going to do that, I probably would look out a better one for just a few pounds that they cost. But yeah, they're just a nice bit of memorabilia. This one's dated 1959. Yeah, pretty nice old thing that is. This is the factory handbook for the Standard 8 and the Standard 10, because they were very similar cars apart from the engine size. All the spec you could ever need. Like I said before, owners were a lot more hands-on typically in those days. There's a general overview of what the dashboard might look like. They did change slightly over the years, and it also depended on whether you had a heater or not. You've got the heater controls there, B label, that thing there just to the left of the speedometer, but you get the general drift of it. There's the bonnet release lever. No internal bonnet release on cars of this age, at least sort of the lower cost cars of this particular age. There's the heater controls, hot or cold. That is your climate control, 1950s style. Could you ever imagine having this level of information available in a handbook for a modern car? Get all the service parts, service numbers, part numbers, and so on for the battery and the control box, the coil, dynamo, distributor, starter, and all the other gizmos that go to make the little Standard actually work most of the time. There's all your bulbs. I don't think people even change bulbs nowadays with LED headlamps, do you? Just throw the whole lamp away and replace them with a new one. So there's progress for you. Parking lamps front. That's how you change your bulbs. Yeah, it's a world away from the modern motoring, if you can call it that. Well, my youthful assistant is conspicuous by his absence. I think he's probably preparing a video for his channel, which goes live tomorrow, so it looks like it's down to me. Right, there's the bucket. Let's get on with it. Well, there we go. That can be drying off now while we have a quick bite to eat. You can see why people photograph cars for sale when they are soaking wet. It probably doubles the price. But yeah, we'll just let that one dry off. Could probably do with a bit of a polish, but I don't think we'll be doing that just at the moment. But as long as it's clean and semi-presentable, then that'll probably do. Just helps to get a bit of air around things, especially when the car hasn't moved for a little while. And you'll notice in the background the arrival of a fresh shed. If you've seen Harley's channel, you'll know what the building on the right is, but that is Fred the Shed, and joins Ned the Shed here at OCC HQ. So if you want to find out more about Fred and Ned, have a look at Harley's Car Traction channel, and there you will find all the information. But yeah, anyway, I think he's waiting for his lunch, so let's go and get a quick bite to eat sorted out. Well folks, we've made it to Crewe Heritage. It's still fairly early. There's several cars here already. Dad's there, we'll have a look. The little standards next to a beautiful little Austin A35, and I think we can spy in the distance a Rover P6. It's good to see that one. It's a V8 as well. A woofly burble, I can hear it coming. 3.5 litres of Rover's finest. Burbly, 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 burbly. So it's the automatic box. And it's always good to see Dad's MGB GT out and about here, nice and early here in Crewe. There's a chrome bumper on an L, complete with tinted glass no less. Ferranti Computer Systems, that's who Dad used to work for those many, many years ago in Wythenshawe. Yeah. Great to see that. And indeed, what do we have here? An XJ40 series Daimler. A Daimler of, what, 1987 or 1988. Quite a sharp looking car. You don't see many good ones of these now. And what do we have over there? Oh, there's the little Wolseley van. That's a pretty cool machine. So the lack of exterior door hinges tells us that probably started out as a mini estate, which has been made into a van, and then with the Wolseley front end fitted to it. So that's quite an interesting hybrid. And there's a Granada that just arrived. I moved the MX-5 over here just so it's out of the way. But yeah, these XJs are really quite a sharp looking car now. And here we are with the trusty standard, made it all the way over here. Bit of a damp start this morning, the wipers were frozen to the screen. Same with this one in fact. And look what we've parked next to. It's arch rival of the 1950s. Well, I mean, I suppose the A35 technically was more of a rival to the standard 10, but the standard 8 is close enough. I mean, the A30, the Austin A30 had exactly the identically sized engine to our little standard 803cc, and the A35 had the 948cc A-series engine. And curiously, when the standard 10 came out, that also had a 948cc engine. Totally different engines, totally different manufacturers, but identical capacities. So yeah, period rivals back in the day. This is a beautiful little car. Can't remember the last time I saw this one. Occasionally maybe we've seen it at Hopley House. But yeah, what a little Bobby Dazzler that is. Beautiful chrome on it, original registration as well, which we approve of. Period sun visor. Slightly steamed up pull-up windows, of course, on these, just like and the Mk1 Austin A40 we've got at home. Whereas the standard at least does have wind-up windows, so that's a tick in the box for the standard rival. Both 4-speed gearboxes, both overhead valve, whereas of course the little side valve, the cheap side valve Ford of the day, the Anglia and later the 103E, I mean that had vacuum wipers and only 3 speeds, side valve engine, whereas these are both overhead valve. The bonnets on the standard are that bit wider compared to the Austin rival, so it does, I think, give slightly better engine access. Mrs OCC used to run a black Austin A30 as her daily many years ago. Accessibility, well, pretty good. Was not quite as good, I don't think, as the standard. So I think that's another tick in the box for the standard. But yeah, either would be a great little classic car choice now.
Yeah, it's quite accurate, quite fun. I had no brakes.
And here's the good old trusty Series 2 Land Rover that's a regular here at the Crewe Heritage Centre. What a little cracker that is. Such an original vehicle. That beautiful time-worn paint polished through on the edges. But isn't it just... It's just such a super duper original vehicle, this one. It's always a treat to see this one, and look at that trailer. This has been purpose built for it. Not sure what the axle's from. It could be a proper, I think it's a period trailer axle. Quite often people used to take the back axles off scrap cars and build up a trailer around that, but I think this is a proper trailer axle, leaf sprung. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, what a lovely little thing this is. Original registration plates. Looks like Ace plates, I think that would be.
How long is it going to take this guy to drive past?
Sorry?
It's a mile-long train.
Oh yeah, that huge train still going. Yes. There's that fantastic old Land Rover. I'm not sure if we can see inside. But, yeah, many switches and so on.
I like the wheels.
I love this little lamp as well. So who made that? Styler. That's
I
just
really like the look of those wheels. The huge sort of bolts, isn't it? They're nice. What do you call that? The cap or something?
yeah. That's that the locking hub for the four-wheel drive, isn't it?
Looks like he's on his way.
Is it? Yeah, that's a cracker, that is. Oh, look at that rare Datsun. The Datsun Fair Lady, I think that is. Last time I saw that was at the Crewe Heritage many years ago, I think that was. That's a rare car, that is. And look, we've got a Series 2 Jaguar XJ as well, so we're getting some interesting cars here today. Also great to see the local Mk1 Lotus Cortina out here in the sunshine. Well, sort of. Yeah, always great to see this one getting in there, and quite an early one. Console badge, you'll note. Later ones were badged obviously as Cortina. This is a very early car. You can tell the later cars, they're called the airflow cars, the grille sort of extended below the bottom of the headlight and had different side lights as indicators as well. So this is an early car, and it's in immaculate condition. It's a real beauty, this one. As is the little A35 alongside. Standard 8 is a little bit more time worn by comparison. Our Bonnie MX5, a really nice Daimler XJ40, and of course Dad's MGB on the end here. Let's have another look at that Rover 3.5, the good old Rover P6. Quite an advanced car back in the day. Various engines were offered, 4 cylinders, and also this, the V8. Advanced suspension, inboard rear disc brakes.
Lovely inside.
Is it? Auto box on this one. Really nice, proper period seat belts in there. The old Britax chrome plated jobs, so they're really nice. Closest I had to this was a P5B saloon, which same running gear pretty much, but a much more upright body on those. And if you remove this badge in the middle of the boot, you can fit the spare wheel on there. That was a bit of an odd feature of the Rover P6 that you could have the spare wheel perched on the boot lid, which did give you a lot more boot space, but it didn't do much for your rearward vision. Got a few period stickers on this one as well, and a nodding dog on the rear shelf. So that's all pretty cool. Yeah, I'm not sure if I've seen this one before, so it's great to see that one here today. It's been a while since I've done the video here. Harley covered, I think, the last 2 Crewe Heritage meets that we came to. Very smart Granada gear. This is a regular here. MG ZS, is it? There's the ZR, the hatchback, and the ZS. The booted saloon. Yep, ZS. Yeah, hard to think about that. Oh, bit of French content. Look at that. 2CV van and car. A distinctive air-cooled engine note of this beautiful left-hand drive van. Parking up next to this very smart air-cooled 911 Targa. We saw loads of those this time last week down at Bicester Heritage. This is a very different event. That's a great little van, that is. That's fantastic. And the 2CV alongside that, what a great pairing. Complete with radiator muff on the van here. Nice, yeah, a few later cars over here. I'm not sure what we're looking at here.
This is really interesting.
So what's this then? Sort of an F or a TF under there?
It's an F or a TF. They made 2 of them in this body kit.
Oh,
this is the
right.
only one left. So I was thinking,
I've never seen that
there's
before.
a bit of Noble, a bit of sort of TVR, a bit of Marcos.
Yes.
The back's quite cool, though.
Let's have a look around the back then.
It sort of looks like a sort of long tail sort of thing.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Cool, actually, I like it. See what I mean? It looks sort of Marcos, doesn't it?
That's very unusual. It's a bit Corvette-y at the back, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a pretty unusual looking car.
That is the only one.
There's the little Wolseley van. Like I say, we think it probably started out as an estate, hence the hidden door hinges. But I could be wrong. But that's the theory. And then it's got the Wolseley front end bolted on it for added excitement. I assume that badge illuminates. That was a feature of all Wolseleys, I think, even right up to the last of the Princess era Wolseley wedges. They had the illuminated badge that came on with the headlights. I see the Wolseley van's got a co-driver today. Look at that, a Mk1 Ford Zephyr, the 6-cylinder Zephyr. Wow, that is fantastic. That is super cool, that is. MAX372, the original registration as well. Yeah, that's great, that is. What a great survivor car that is. That's followed in by a Mark IV Ford Escort as well, so same family, very, very different eras. That's got a lovely 6-cylinder burble to it. That sounds fantastic. Here's the interior view of that glorious Zephyr. What a cool looking car this is. So original. And there's the gear pattern. That is just incredible. That reminds me so much of when I was growing up. The neighbour, he had a Mk1 Ford Consul. And every few years he used to repaint it. He used to get some household white paint and give it a lick of paint. And this is a 6-cylinder brother to it. Let's have a quick peek inside. I've asked first, of course, but it's such a really heavy door. Just look how solid it is on the pillars. Yeah, it's actually really, really sound, this car. It's got new old stock front wings on it, fitted many, many years ago.
Had these remade in a bronze
Look at that
factory.
beautiful dash.
Adam Crewe in a bronze factory.
So in many ways this was the replacement to the V8 Pilot that we've got at home. This was sort of the big engine Ford in Ford's lineup of the early 1950s. So the Pilot was made up until 1951, and I think it's pretty much after that went out of production that the Zephyr 6 and the Zodiac came into being, along with obviously the 4-cylinder console as well. But this is great. What a great looking view.
With the wheels on.
I'll put the wheels on.
You put the wheels on.
Big old wheels here.
Not at the moment, no, 'cause we're still waiting for the Montego to turn up.
Similar colour. Yeah.
Next to the Bonnie Escort here, we have the arrival of 2 yellow Triumphs. TR7 Sprint, no less. Now that is an unusual car, powered by the Dolly Sprint engine, a 16-valve engine, and the very familiar Spitfire 1500 right behind it. So a great pair of classic Triumphs, both in yellow, of which we approve greatly. Now, I didn't want to forget this XJ, this very super original looking Series 2 Jaguar XJ6 on an N registration, lovely proper metal plates. None of these horrible cheap pressed steel jobbies or aluminium jobbies that you often see on cars of the 70s nowadays, but that's just as it should be, and it's all the better for it. Lovely long wheelbase, slightly two-toned actually. It's got a strip down the side, very slightly two-toned, this particular car. Looks super original. That's somewhere to look on an XJ. Always look to see if that seam's still there, because if the arches, you just move to one side, Hal. That's it. If the arches have been done off and that seam disappears under a layer of filler, that's always something to look at when you're buying a twin filler caps for the twin tanks. It'll probably be a 4.2. It could be a 3.4 possibly. Yeah. It's lovely shape though. Still had the quarter lights on the doors at this point in time, although on the Series 1s, the model before this, they were opening. They had like a rotating knurl thing that you could wind open the quarter lights, but on the Series 2s they got rid of that. So it still has quarter lights, but they're non-opening on the Series 2. Let's have a quick look over here. It's quite a rare version. Now, we saw this one at Hopley House back in 2023. It's got a rare limited edition version of the MGTF. This is the LE500. There's the blurb. And on in here, which we also saw at Hopley House, a lovely 1.9 litre 205 GTI. That's a beautiful looking car, and my favourite colour that is for those. Yeah, really sharp looking hot hatch, proper wheels, slightly larger diameter, different pattern wheels on the 1.9s. So that's really nice. Peugeot 205, 40th anniversary last year. And what do we have coming in over here? A Montego. It's disappearing inside the building, is it? So we'll just capture it before it disappears into the gloom. I think there's another one in there. There's a Maestro, I think. Oh, is it a Montego? I can't see. But yeah, I think there's a bit of a gathering of Montegos here today. What have we got here then? Yeah. A couple of Escorts, a Granada, Sierra. Yeah, quite a gathering of classic Fords here today. And the bonnet's up on the Zephyr 6. Let's have a quick peek under here. Wow, mighty straight 6. Just a single carburettor. That one's a Raymond Mays triple carburettor setup on it. Twin Hooters. It's really sound under here. Look at those inner wings, all original.
1275.
Oh, the fuel pipe's gone on it. Never mind that, where's the fucking one? I had 12 people in the cupboard. You know what it's like, isn't it? It's what parts you brought to sell? Any legal? No,
really nice.
you're feeling alright, I thought you'd have stuff up.
Here's that little Datsun Fair Lady that we saw backing in before. Like I say, I've seen this one a couple of times at Avro Heritage at the Woodford car gatherings that they have over there, videos of which are available elsewhere on this channel. But this is a super rare car. I think this is the only one of these I've ever seen. Certainly the only one I've ever seen out in the wilds and actually in use. So that's really, really cool. So it's slightly bigger. It's bigger than like the Honda S800 cars like that. This would have been a rival to the MGB, but how many sold here? If they were indeed ever sold here, I'm not quite sure. This is a left hooker, so...
Is it me or does it look a bit like an RV8? Like an early...
It's a bit...
RV8, you know?
Yeah, I suppose.
Especially the back, like the shape of the back wing looks like an RV8.
Yeah, it's quite a rare car. This is. It's an unusual car. Left-hand drive. Yeah, it's really cool to see, and a very distinctive back end as well. Look at the shape of that. A Datsun Roadster, 1965. Yeah, that's a proper rare car. That is now. I love the dash. It's almost Italian looking, the dash. Dad's busy chatting MGBs. Time to break out the bagel. There's that lovely little Morris Cooper S that pulled in a few moments ago. Mark II, still with the slidey windows, slightly bigger grille compared to the Mark 1. That's a cracking looking little car. Yep, 1275S. Just when we were wondering what else will turn up, we've got a lovely little Morris Traveller. Let's have a look at that over there. Lovely green one. I remember seeing this one at, well, we've seen this one at a couple of events, I think. But I think probably last time was the North Wales Classic Car Show. Again, there's a video for that elsewhere on the channel. Distinctive Morris Minor Burble. The Maestro and the Montego contingent are represented here today as well. These have come over, well, certainly this one's come over from North Wales. I'm not sure about the Montego, but that's where this one's come from today. Oh, the Spitfire. Yeah, the Spitfire's arrived. The one that comes.
Rear spot lamp now.
Yeah, every time we see this, it gets updated ever so slightly. The Ashley hardtop Mark III Triumph Spitfire, quite a rare sight now. It's a super clean example, a rare survivor of the Austin, later Rover Montego. A rare survivor. Did a few miles in the back of an estate version of one of these as a passenger many years ago. Not been in the Heritage Centre building for a while. Look at this, currently under restoration. Definitely a work in progress on this old loco. Let's have a quick look, see what it's called. The Prince George Crewe Works. Yeah, a bit of work there. Here's something of interest with a motoring link to it, the Crewe tractor. During the First World War there was a lack of powered transport on the lightly laid tramways operated between the trenches across France and Belgium. The LNWR at Crewe Works adapted approximately 132 Ford Model T cars manufactured in Trafford Park, Manchester, to run on rails during 1916 to 1917. Wow. The design fitted a lightweight utility body and kit form railway chassis of 600mm gauge to a standard Model T chassis, and all vehicles left Crewe in road trim with the additional rail parts carried on the load bay or strapped to each side. Wow, that is pretty groovy. So there it is, as dispatched, with the kit strapped to the sides of it, and then there they are in use out on the battlefield. That's pretty amazing. Look at that. It's good to see it looking fairly busy. We've got a few revers over there, so we'll keep going this way. And yeah, I'll wait till he's finished. Right, he's stopped now. So yeah, the little Spitfire's for sale. So if you want a very tidy Spitfire, there's the number to ring. Yeah, it's a lovely little car, this one. Very clean. Really straight looking car. I imagine you approve of this Spitfire, Hull?
I do like it, yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Quite a cool little thing.
very bonny little car. Over here, also representing yellow cars, a fixed head Lotus Elan. The beauty that is. It's a cracking little car, that is. Very neat. Another Z, is that the one we saw before? The ZS. The Mark III Ford Escort, 5-door hatch. It's a Mark V, I think. Is that a Granada or a Scorpio? I can never tell which is which. I think it's a Granada gear. What have we got? Let's have a look and see what it says. It doesn't say. But anyway, we'll go with Granada. And the Sierra, a 1.8 Sierra. Sales rep's favourite, this and the Cavalier back in the day. The mighty Rover 800. One of the two nice ones of these around now. This is the Vitesse, the speedy one. A very sizable looking exhaust pipe on it, so that'll please Harley. And here, a stunning Rolls Royce just a couple of miles away from where this was built at Pims Lane, now home to Bentley Motors, but back in the day Rolls Royce and Bentley were based there for many years. This looks like a well used example. More Ford action. There's a really good turnout today here at the Crewe Heritage Centre, which is really good to see. Decent weather forecast has probably helped, so that's really encouraging. Yeah, it's nice, this Vitesse, isn't it? Super shiny. And still they're coming in past the mighty Ford Mustang here. E34 5 Series, this is a regular here, it's always great to see this one. I had quite a chat with the owner of that one last time we were here. And look at this, beautiful little A35, another one. That is great. Standards are outnumbered here today now by their Austin rival. I think we'll have to have a closer look at that A35 when it parks up. We are a fan of 1950s Austins here at Old Classic Car. Well, in fact, anything in the 1950s, but I do have a soft spot for the little Austins. That looks like a really original car. Yeah, so we got the black one over the back there next to standard, and this beautiful grey example. Original registration too. Bay window VW, hotly pursued by a Mark II Ford Fiesta. Oh, beautiful little A35 has parked up now. Let's take a closer look. This looks so original. Even down to the original number plates. It's really nice, that is. Yes, little standards are outnumbered by little Austins today. Oh, is it tied in there, is it? Oh, it is nice, isn't it? It's a Very neat little car that is. I like the colour as well. Again, the original plates on the back, this time an Ace, so we had a Hills plate on the front and a good old Ace plate on the back. What a bonny little car that is. Hey, Dodge, classic Dodge time. All the way from Winona's Worm Farm in Georgia. Yeah, mighty Dodge. Good to see one of those here.
Might not.
That's what you call a long bed, for obvious reasons. That sounds really, really purposeful, that mighty Dodge. So what year is that then? Late 60s, about 67 or 8.
Really side pack for an 8.
There's a closer look at that bonny little Spitfire, the Mark III Spitty from 1967 that we saw coming in before. We've seen this quite a few times now, and every time we see it, it usually has gained some new features, some new lamps or a bit of extra paintwork.
What's that mess on?
It's pretty groovy. May have been. May have been. I can't remember if that was on there last time. It's really unusual to see one with these old Ashley hardtops on there.
Yeah, it's got a spot lamp on.
It's Ashley laminates. They used to make the fiberglass bodies to fit on your Ford pop chassis, the Ashley 1172 and so on.
I like the racing windows on it.
Oh, the sliding sort of perspex glass. Like,
Makes it look a lot more like a race car.
it's like
than
the
anything else.
yeah, it's a bit like the Le Mans Spitfires had that kind of setup.
That would look quite cool.
I'm told this Fiesta is super low mileage, apparently 4,000 miles from new. So this is a real time warp car. Still got the original dealer plates on it for Knutsford Motors in Northwich. 4,600 miles on it. Wow.
Panache.
A Panache. The Panache limited edition.
What does that mean?
It's just yeah, you got some extra stripes and maybe the glass sunroof. That wouldn't have been a standard fitting on all of the Mark IIs.
You get this.
Possibly that. I wonder if that repeater. Yeah, I wonder if that repeater light was an option as well, or did they all have those? I can't remember.
Your eyes go funny.
Yeah, but yeah, the stripe is certainly a special fitment. But yeah, how clean is that? Fiesta Popular Plus.
They're a good reliable piece. Hundreds of them, aren't there?
Yeah, all the original interior trim.
Low mileage.
Yeah, the correct brochure on the floor there. The car's Ford brochure for 1986. Oh, super clean car. Here's that mighty Dodge. Let's have a closer look at that. Yeah, it's on an F plate, so that would be what, late 67 or
68.
early 1968.
68.
Is it 68, is it?
Size the tyres as well, there.
Some very chunky wheels and tyres on this.
SUVs are off.
I can hear an air-cooled Citroen starting up.
Sounds like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, bit of Citroen action over the back there.
Interesting how they both got the square headlamps, isn't it?
Yeah,
So the van one's French, isn't it? It's in left hand drive. The other one's right hand drive.
Is that where you come to the light? Come to the light? Before you get to that.
okay, back to mighty Dodges.
Okay.
coming the other way. Yes, so I come through, get through that way. Come through.
Get a few Kit Kats in the back of that one. This trim down the side would have been marking it out as probably one of the more expensive variants, I would have thought. It's quite swish for a commercial vehicle. Left-hand drive, obviously an import. Later gauges.
That stuff's pretty stylish, isn't it?
Yeah.
The speedo goes to 160.
That's it. That's it.
I'd have that too.
I wanted to see that. What's the right one?
Jaguar XK8 Roadster. I've got a very bonny looking little Mini just arriving. Hey, excellent. Distinctive gear whine. Right, well, one or two cars are starting to disappear now, so I think we will take their lead, follow their lead, and probably start doing the same. Are you going in that one, are you? Are you? It's got a working heater. Oh dear, oh dear. So, we will wrap this one up. Thank you so much for watching this particular video, and hopefully there'll be many, many more Crewe Heritage videos throughout the rest of this year. We'll try and get to as many shows as we can and try and fit in as many of the Crewe meets as we can. So thanks very much for watching, and bye for now. There we go, both cars back home, safe and sound.